I thank you for participating with me today. I appreciate that. You should have a group set of your chart, like that, and you should have your passages. And each passage is the story of a survivor from the sinking of the Titanic. And I'm going to read it to you so that it'll help you. Please follow along, though. The first one I'm going to read is Jack Thayer's story. John B. Thayer, called Jack by his friends and family, was aboard the Titanic with his mother and father, sailing back home to the United States. The 17-year-old was one of the few people who went down with the ship and lived to tell about it. With his parents asleep in the adjoining cabin, Jack Thayer relaxed on his bunk. It was 11:45 p.m., and he was a first-class passenger aboard the spectacular Titanic. With his porthole ajar, porthole is like the little window, Jack felt a breeze and detected a slight sway of the vessel. The ship's engines then shut down abruptly, and all was eerily quiet. Jack heard footsteps pounding the passageway. He threw a coat over his pajamas and went to investigate the commotion. Commotion, that's a lot of noise. Jack dashed up to the A deck on the port side but didn't see anything. Anything unusual. So he maneuvered toward the bow. His eyes were still adjusting to the darkness. Jack swore he could glimpse chunks of ice. He hurried to retrieve his mother and father from their compartment, and they returned to survey the starboard side of the A deck. His father spotted ice, and they crossed to the port side, where they felt the entire ship tilt toward the ocean. They immediately sprinted back to their stateroom to dress. Jack put on an extra mohair vest along with his life preserver and overcoat. They arrived on deck just as instructions were issued for the women and children to evacuate. Jack said goodbye to his mother, and as he and his father proceeded through the crowds, they became separated. Jack located a friend, Milton, and the two considered their options. Hordes of passengers swamped the lifeboats, making them impossible to reach. They watched as men plunged into the ocean, but Milton resisted. He was not confident in his swimming abilities. The two young men stood on the rails of the ship. Jack encouraged Milton to jump, insisting he would go right after Milton. Jack saw Milton slide down the side of the ship into the water. He never saw Milton again. As the ship began to sink more rapidly, Jack jumped feet first into the icy water. The shock of the cold snatched his breath away. Around him, enormous pieces of the ship crashed into the water. The suction pulled him under, and he struggled to resurface. A wave pushed him farther from the wreckage. He reached out and felt something, an overturned lifeboat. A hand extended and hauled him from the ocean. Jack Thayer would remain perched atop the lifeboat, cramped between dozens of men, freezing in the night air until a rescue ship arrived several hours later. Finally aboard the rescue ship Carpathia, Jack was reunited with his mother. His father did not survive. Okay, now you're going to look at your chart as a group. And you're going to look for, that was Jack Thayer, right? Okay, yeah, Jack Thayer. You're going to look for Jack Thayer. And you're going to see that the first one on your chart was done for you. And that is his age, which he was 17. And it says his occupation. That's a job. What did he do? And we're going to assume, they're saying that we're assuming he's a student since he was only 17 and he was with his parents. Okay? So then your second question for everybody is going to, every person that we talk about, is going to be, was he traveling with family or friends? Who was he traveling with? So you can stop the video now and you can go back and answer, who was he traveling with? And I believe that that's in the first paragraph here. Who was he traveling with? Stop the video and go and answer that. Pick one person to answer that one in your group, and then come back. Okay, your next question. Purpose of the trip. Why was he on the Titanic? Why were he and his parents on the Titanic? Well, let's see. On board the Titanic with his mother, and they're sailing back home to the United States. It doesn't really say where they were coming from, just that they were sailing back home. Just returning home. Oh, also on this one about friends, don't forget he had a friend that he tried to get him to jump with, right? If you forgot about his friend and you just listed his family, go back and put his friend there. Okay, so purpose of his trip. Next. Okay, what class? First, second, or third class? And that's going to be in your second paragraph where it says class passenger. Okay. Again, stop the video while you're writing or go back and rewind it. Okay. What was the person doing at the time the ship hit the iceberg? Go back into your story. What were they doing when it hit the... That's going to also be in your second paragraph. And yeah, it was right at the top of your second paragraph. Okay. Okay, this next one's answered for you. Did he or she have time to put on a coat and life vest? And it said yes. Jack put on an extra mohair vest in addition to his life vest, right? Okay, so that one's done for you. Second page. Tell how he or she got onto a lifeboat. If the person didn't, tell why. Well, with Jack, he kind of did, but he kind of didn't. And that's going to be toward the bottom, right? What happened? Okay? This one's going to take you a little while. You don't have to write all of that, but you have to summarize it. Who? Right? Who's our somebody? Our somebody? Right? And then somebody else did what to them? Laptop. And where did he stay? So he wasn't necessarily inside a lifeboat, but what was he? All right, you're really going to have to turn my video off to answer that one. It's going to take you maybe a few words there, definitely. Okay. Where was he or she at the exact time the Titanic sank? Well, I guess you're going to kind of have to infer that. Where do you think they were whenever the Titanic sank? From this one, what did you put here? Where was he? So, it's probably the same thing that you put up here. He was in the same place he was here for when it went down. All right, now this one. Did he or she lose any family or friends? Did anybody die when the ship sank? It's right there at the bottom. Who died? 2 people died, right? He had a friend that died. Where was it? Jack saw Milton slide down the ship into the water. He never saw Milton again, so we have to assume that he also died. What information is given about the person's rescue? Well, where did he find his mom at? He ended up where? Finally aboard the rescue ship, Carpathia. Okay. Now I'm helping you a lot with this first one. The second one I'm not going to help you as much, and the third one you're doing completely by yourself. Okay. All right, let's go on to the second survivor.